Yo, how we doing? Pat here, welcome back to this week's market review. Going to be taking a look at the crypto market today. Some big moves from Bitcoin and Ethereum, altcoins as well off the lows. Lots to talk about today, so yeah, let's get into it. Market reviews lately have been spot on past few weeks now, probably month, pretty much since April really. We've been spot on with the moves. Really happy with how we've been playing BTC, and these market reviews have been a great way of giving my outlook to everybody, and also just keeping a quick short summary of the market, and then what you can sort of expect for the week ahead. We're going to touch on a few things like the higher time frame on BTC, some higher time frame market thoughts. We're going to look at Ethereum today. We're going to look at a few altcoins I've got my eye on, and of course we're going to be keeping an eye on BTC and setting a plan out for the week ahead. So starting off with BTC, we caught a really nice long in the group. You can check out the socials and the link to join the group in the description. I actually posted this on my Twitter as well, but the full trade setup and plan was posted in the Wealth group. We longed 102.750, caught a nice limit there. After my limit was stopped break even from the week before, we eventually got stopped break even, and I had a limit as a bit of a fail safe underneath my limits I had at 103, because I knew if we swept that we were basically going to V-shape back up. So we took our first profit last night at pretty much Pico top 110 500 area, and the plan for me this week is to be keeping an eye on the 108.800 region. So the 108.800 region is the 2-week POC. So if we look at the volume profile for BTC and we merge these two weekly profiles, so basically the last 2 weeks of May, if we merge these profiles, we can see the POCs, the POCs are quite close to each other. If we merge them, then what we get is the composite POC. So this is a really important area. We know that there's a lot of volume traded at this level at 108.800, and BTC basically broke straight through that area. We can see the good volume. We can see good volume on that break through that area. So overall, a very good sign, and a potential sign of acceptance above the POC. So the way we can use these POCs, especially in the market profile, is basically that we view this as a balance, right? So as of right now, BTC remains in a balance between the composite value area high and also the composite value area low. The POC can be a good place to look at trend continuation. So in our case, we broke down from the value area low, we failed to auction lower, we reclaimed the 2-week composite value area low, and now we've traded towards the 2-week composite value area high. So if this move is strong, what we should see here from BTC is some sort of bracketing period and consolidation above this composite point of control before a move back higher, right? And then we can target a new all-time high, and probably even a move towards the 120k region if this move is going to really sustain. So for a continuation this week, 108.800 is really important. I'm pretty sure if we fail to hold 108.800 and we deviate back under there, we're looking at a move back down towards 105, 106 to 105. We have FOMC next week, I think next Wednesday, correct me if I'm wrong, but FOMC next week, and we'll set out a plan for that next week. But for now, we focus on this week. But overall, FOMC next week, if we do get this sort of break under 108.800, I could see us risking off and selling off / chopping towards FOMC. So for this move to sustain, it's pretty important that we continue to hold above 108.100. We continue to bracket below the composite value area high and above this 2-week volume point of control, and then we can see some continuation. So for that reason, my current position will rely on whether we can hold here. If we look at this chart here, this is pretty much the plan I've set out for the week. I'm going to look at adding to my long, and even entering a new long if I get some good triggers into 108.800. Otherwise, a deviation under here, I will exit my long that I've bought from 107.750, and then potentially look at new triggers back down towards 106, 10500. So the weekly close for BTC was great. We can see that we continue to hold the weekly above the range high area, the daily and the weekly range high area. We're showing some strong structure around this region. Obviously, I think I spoke of this in my last week's market report or market review video, but we can see that the prior 2 years, 2023 and 2024, both topped the market. if we are going to see some continuation this week, it is really essential that we do sustain this move. I think the more we chop up here and the more we start to roll over and show a lack of momentum to break towards new all-time highs, I think we're at risk of putting in a top around June and chopping for summer. You know, that area remains the key, like sort of bullish, a bullish level of support that we must hold. You know, a deviation back under here would likely mean that we're top for summer, and we do the same thing. We bottom into August and September and then rally into Q4. So for continuation into June and July, it's very important that we continue to hold this weekly range high and don't perform and put in a similar top that we've done in the past 2 years. In terms of values, BTC is looking good, really good bounce from that developing yearly value area high, strong bounce from there, and also the Q1 value area high, and we're trading back above the developing quarterly value area high. Also above the prime monthly value area high, which sits around 108,600. Last month, this was again a key pivot place for BTC. So a nice sign that we've basically failed to accept back inside this sort of prior monthly value area, and a good chance that we can continue to break higher this month as long as we hold above 108,800, right? Lines with the POC that I just spoke about. So now going to take a quick look at the higher time frame. You know, as I've said a couple of times, it's really important that this move does sustain. I think if we are going to continue to get a breakout into the earlier months of summer, you know, end of June and into July, it's pretty important that, you know, with this momentum that we have, we continue to sustain it. I'm unsure whether if we flop into mid-June that we can recover, depending on how things go with FOMC. Obviously, if there's some bullish news on lowering rates and into FOMC, then that can be a positive for the market. You know, macro things are having a big effect on the market at the moment, so any sort of macro news can give us that massive breakout. But I haven't spoken about this in a while, but seeing a lot of similarities to prior cycles, right? When we have this pre-bull into consolidation, pre-bull into consolidation, pre-bull into consolidation, pre-bull into consolidation, and then what we get is that final expansion, which eventually is the market top for BTC. And this is the sort of move I'm looking at getting this year on BTC. You know, I remain very bullish on Bitcoin higher time frame. I've been vocal that I don't expect the market to top any earlier than October this year. October is the cycle top for me on Bitcoin. Altcoins, we'll get onto altcoins later, but for now, Bitcoin, October, that's the cycle top for me. So, you know, if we're talking about rallying into summer and through summer, it's very possible, but obviously we need to see some strong macro events play out in our favor. The dollar as well, this can sort of support my theory that we can rally for the rest of the year, showing very similar signs to the 2017 and 2018 move, 2020 and 2021 move, and now potentially we're showing a similar sign here, locking a move under 99, which both times previously led to a move back towards sub 90, right? So if the dollar locks in a bearish trend over summer, this can be very positive for crypto markets, right? We can continue to get that rally higher towards October this year and even back end of this year. You know, as I said, October is the earliest I can see the market topping, so it could move on to, you know, early 2026 and even late 2025 as a market top. Important to keep an eye on the dollar here, the DXY. This is a big thing for the market. The market really likes when the dollar gets weak. Okay, let's talk about altcoins. You know, everyone's here for altcoins. Everyone wants to know what altcoin's going to do, right? It's all well and true we talk about Bitcoin, but as of right now, Bitcoin doesn't necessarily, you know, Bitcoin going up doesn't necessarily always mean that altcoins go up, right? We're not new to that sort of playbook at the moment, and the only time we really see altcoins perform really well is when we get these range breaks from Bitcoin, right? When we confirm the range break from Bitcoin, we can see that this is when altcoins perform, and this is supported by looking at total 3, right? So we're excluding Bitcoin and ETH. We take a look at the range breaks from Bitcoin and how total 3 reacts on these range breaks, right? We can see that during these periods, this is a period where altcoins suffer tremendously, right? Altcoins sell off during these chop, altcoins sell off during these chop. It's not until BTC gets that range breakout, you know, that higher time frame range breakout, and locks in this really strong trend until altcoins start to perform really well, right? So if we are going to rally into June and July, and on altcoins, we need to see Bitcoin sustain a move above range high, right? We need to see a Bitcoin sustain above this range high region. If we can lock above range high and get this good momentum breakout that I'm looking for, this can be fantastic for altcoins. We can see altcoins, 5 to 10x, some of them, the stronger altcoins going back to new all-time highs. Most altcoins doubling in price, I think that's completely reasonable if as long as Bitcoin can sustain this range high breakout. I don't think we're in a world where Bitcoin can range and go back into a summer chop where we see altcoins perform. I think if we go back into a summer chop, we see total 3 continue to sell off until August before we rally. If Bitcoin does break out, look at scaling in or buying into strong altcoins, right? Look at DeFi coins, look at meme coins. I'm fairly sure total 3 can trade towards 1.2 to 1.5 trillion if we do get that breakout from BTC over the next few weeks. This is basically the only trigger right now for me to get into alts. I'm not a massive fan of alts as of right now. I think a lot of them are moving into key areas, which we'll discuss in a minute. But for now, this is the main trigger I'm looking at. Lock in a move above range high. If Bitcoin can break from this balance that I've been speaking about here, if we can lock in a break and starts to move and break out, then this is when I'll just pile into altcoins, because I'm fairly sure you can run fairly wide stops and things will just run up only. So obviously ETH has been really strong. Going to try and quickly whiz over ETH, but for now big res into 2800. If it can hold above 2700 this week, a good chance that it can continue to trade up to 3k to 3200 over June. If BTC can sustain above this 109 to 108 region and ETH can sustain above 2700, I expect to move to 3k to 3200 this month. Now to finish off, talking about some altcoins. Most of these altcoins have similar price action. Fartcoin, for example, locking in a really nice reclaim above 1.2. We can see a nice deviation under there. If I do get this breakout from Bitcoin, I'm going to look at scaling into Fartcoin with a target of 1.6 and then even as high as $2 to all-time high. I think this is completely possible if Bitcoin starts to get a breakout. We can see what Fartcoin done back in sort of January. And then obviously November, December prior to the listing as well, it had a good move. A lot of altcoins are looking the same as this. Pepe is another one. If Pepe can lock in a good deviation back above this region, it can move higher. But for now, we have to be cautious into this area, right? We have to be cautious that Bitcoin is trading into 110. Meme coins or altcoins are trading into quite big resistance. If Bitcoin doesn't hold 108,800, it's going to look at trading back down to 105. And I think a lot of these potential reclaims on altcoins turn into bearish retests. So cautiously bullish on alts, and we really are going to rely on seeing that breakout for total 3 to also break out. Aave is another coin. DeFi Roundtable was yesterday. Aave is a coin that is performing really well at the moment. I think it's reacted well to this DeFi, the SEC Roundtable on DeFi. I think if we can continue to get a move higher on the market, Aave is one to look for, potentially even trading back to 500 to all-time high over the next month or so if we get some really strong bullish conditions. But yeah, keep an eye on these meme coins, but locking in good reclaims. Mudeng is another one. Engu is a good coin, potentially locking in a good reclaim here. Overall, just look at these reclaims. If Bitcoin breaks out, buy the reclaims, look for a breakout on these, and obviously be cautious in the fact that these could turn into bearish retests if we don't hold 108,800. Okay, to summarize my thoughts a bit, because running over a little bit, 108,800 is the level to hold this week. Looking for some fresh longs into this region, targeting 112. Failure to hold here, and I'm fairly sure we risk off back down towards 106 to 105 into FOMC. Really important that we hold 108,800, at least just chop here for a bit before then breaking up maybe towards the back end of the week. We'll look at exiting my Bitcoin long under here and potentially compounding into the entry if we see good signs of support. High time frame looks great, expecting Bitcoin to continue to rally higher for this year, despite what might happen over the next month or so. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's market review, fully packed one, and all my socials are linked below. You can join the Wealth Group Discord by following the link that you can also find in the description. And if you enjoyed, please leave a like and see you guys next week. Bye bye.